Welcome to Gary Clarke Tech. In this one I'm going to talk about my editor or IDE of choice, which is PhpStorm. Now what I will say about PhpStorm is that it's an incredibly powerful tool and it's capable of doing way more things than I use it for. But what I'm going to show you in this one are some of the common tasks and shortcuts which I use on a regular basis. Before we get started, let me inform you that I record in high resolution, so there's no need to watch on a blurry screen. Choose high definition if that works for you. Would you like to join a growing group of PHP developers and take your skills to a new level? If that sounds like you, all you need to do is subscribe and click the little notification icon, and welcome. I'm going to start off by showing you how you can customize your layout. Now PhpStorm is very powerful, there's a lot of things. As you can see looking around the screen, there's a lot of little menus. Some of these things you may never use, and a lot of these things I don't ever use. Things like the toolbar here, we have navigation, there's another little menu at the bottom of the screen which I don't think I've ever used, and also you have these side panels here which I don't think I use those either. In order to enable and disable these, we go to View, Appearance, then this little menu pops up, and the ones which are ticked are the ones which are enabled. So if I click Toolbar, my toolbar now disappears. Here's the nav bar. Now I do still use this, but I'm going to get rid of it anyway because I'll show you a way in which you can access that. If I press Command and up, then it brings up my little navigation bar and I can navigate around that and find whatever I need to find. So if I move left and then down a couple of times and then hit enter, it takes me straight into this security controller here. Let's have a look at some others. So tool window bars is just above the status bar at the bottom. That's now gone. Entirely up to you how you have your layout. I just like to have a bit more real estate. Status bar, I'm going to leave that for a second. Details in tree view, don't even know what it does, so I don't need it. And members in navigation bar, I've removed my navigation bar, so I can remove that as well. Okay, let's go back and have a look at status bar. I'm going to keep this one because I actually do use it. If I remove this semicolon here, then down in status bar it tells me I have an error on my page and it's expecting a semicolon, so I find that one quite useful actually. Next, I'll show you how you can create new files using a key command. So find my location, then hit Command N, and then I can create any of these files or a directory. So I've chosen directory, hit enter, and then it creates the directory in the location which I specified. And I'll use it again here to create a class. So Command N, drop down to PHP class, give it a name, hit enter, and I've just created a PHP class in the location that I wanted. If I put my cursor over a class name or a method name and hit Command B, that will take me to the original declaration. That's one that you'll need to use all the time, so good one to remember, and that's the original key commands for that. Here I'm jumping to the next method and then the previous methods, but I'm not using built-in key commands for that. I'm using ones that I set myself. So if I go to key map and then I press this little search here and press the keys that I'm using, which is Control, Alt and up, it tells me that maneuver is called previous method. If I do the same for my other keys, Control, Alt and down, it tells me that that maneuver is called next method. So let me show you how you can actually set your own keys. So if I search for next method, then all I need to do is just go and click on that and it'll bring up a little menu here, and the first option is add keyboard shortcut. So double click on that. And then what I do is I just play around with some keys. I try and find the ones that I'd most like to use for it, see if that's available. May have to overwrite something which I don't use, but that's okay. Now you might be thinking, but how do I know what these mappings are called, or how do I even know that they exist? For the first question, how do you know what they're called? Often Google's helped me out on that one. And how do you even know that these mappings are available to you or what they do in the first place? Well, for most of the answers for that, I got them by going through the tip of the day, which is something that I do every now and then, and I'll cover that towards the end of the recording. As well as the built-in key mappings, you can create your own little macros. For example, Command S does a little $, which is useful in PHP for variables. Also, Alt A does the same thing. So a while since I created those, I probably just couldn't make up my mind. Anyway, macros, if we go to Edit, and then down here towards the bottom, Macros, and here's a list of ones which I've created. There's quite a useful one, the right arrow for accessing properties and methods, and I do this with Alt, Control, and it's actually a right bracket, but it displays as a dot here. And another useful one which I created is the double arrow, and I use Control, Command, and again the right bracket. So let me show you how you can create macros of your own. Again, in the edit menu, down to macros, and then we press Start Macro Recording. Down in the bottom right, you'll see that macro is recording, and then you just type in your code, whatever keys you're going to use, press stop. So again, I've done $. You give it a name, so I'll just call it $, this time, press OK. And then if I go and look in the key map, and then down here you see macros, and the ones that are grayed out are the ones that don't have keys assigned yet, so I'll double click that, and it gives me the option to add a keyboard shortcut. So just choose a combination you want. Sometimes you'll see that they're already assigned, but they're usually assigned to things that you don't use anyway. I should point out that for variables which already exist, you can just start typing the name without the $sign. A little menu pops up, press tab, and then it'll complete it for you. For example, security there. Let's try this one, helper. So if I start typing help plus tab, then it'll create the variable for me. But obviously, if I'm creating a new variable, then I'll need the $sign, and I'll use a macro to do that. Sometimes you might want something a bit more substantial. For example, if you use Symfony, you'll create route methods a lot. We can actually create a template out of this and parameterize it. So I'm going to strip some of the stuff out here. So I've just got the bare bones of what I'd like to start out with. So I'll just leave the name in there. I'll get rid of this. And then I've got some routing. I'll copy that. And then if I search for live, I'm looking for live templates. And then you need to get the correct language. So I'll put it in PHP. Here's some which I created earlier. Various little bits and pieces which I use. The way to create your own is to go up to this little plus here, choose live template. This box will open. So I paste in or type in the code that you're going to use here. As you can see, it's all white at the moment. You need to choose the language. So I'll tick the PHP box. I always forget that step. But now you can see it's got my PHP colouring. I'm just going to give this an abbreviation of ROUT for route. Then give it a description which will pop up when you start typing those letters for you to auto-complete. It's just a hint. And I've just zoomed forward a bit there, tidied this up a bit, and now what I'm going to do is parameterize it. The way you do that is using $2 and then just give a name to each parameter. So route, I'll copy this and I'll bring it over here, and this will be my route name. So route underscore name. Then I need to give the method a parameter to add a method name. So method underscore name. And then I need to add my method logic. So I'll paste that in there and change this to just logic. And in fact, I'll give this method an argument. And so I'll paste that in there and I'll just change this to arg. Then all you need to do is press apply and then OK. And then I type ROUT tab. And there you go. And so all I'll do now is just fill out the parameters. So new route, then tab, then new underscore route tab. So once you've completed the name of whatever it is that you're naming, you just hit tab and it'll move on to the next parameter placeholder which you created. So I'll move on to the argument, just give that a name, and then in the method body I'll just put in some example text. So quite a little productivity booster there. If there's particular pieces of code which you do all the time, boilerplate code, use live templates. I get a few questions regarding PhpStorm and editors in general, so let's use the comments to get the discussion going. Is there anything else I can teach you or that you'd like to know? Or is there anything you can teach myself and the other viewers? If we do get enough engagement in the discussion, then I might record a follow-up to this one. I'll open up preferences with Command comma because something I get asked about quite a lot is plugins. What plugins do I use? And the answer is I don't actually use that many. I'll show you which ones I've actually installed. So ones to note are PHP annotations, because annotations are used quite a lot with Symfony, PHP Toolbox and Symfony support. The rest of these, a lot of them already come bundled, things like Docker, which you can see here. That comes with PhpStorm anyway. I didn't have to install that, I don't think. Node.js, Vue.js, DQL for doctrine query languages, I think PhpStorm and just JetBrains products in general are a bit different to your open source stuff like Sublime or VS Code, in that they come bundled with most stuff already. You don't actually need to install a load of plugins. If you do want to install them, you go to this tab here, Marketplace, and let's just pick one. So I'll click on here, PhpStorm Web Help for Offline Use. That'll do, and then you just go and click on Install. Zoom forward a bit, that installs, and what it'll tell you is to restart your IDE in order for that to complete. I'll not bother in this case, so we'll just click away from that, but that's how easy it is to just install something. Search for it in the Marketplace tab, install it, restart, and then use it. Colours. So colours is something which I've personally changed recently because I realised that they didn't look great on video, so I've made the background darker and change some of the other colours. So I'll show you how I did some of this stuff. If you come to Colour Scheme, PHP, and then up above where it shows you the examples, if you find PHP code and then background, and instead of setting it as a PHP specific value, I just followed the trail back all the way up to general and set the background here and just inherited that in my PHP colours. Anyway, let me show you how you can change the colour for variables, methods, etc. You just go to this little box, click on what it is you want to change, and then the colour will appear. Double click on that, and then you can just choose a different colour. So for example, changing the colour of this method here, what I tend to do is just move this slider around until I find something fairly close, and then you can change the shade slightly. This looks pretty good. I'll apply that, click OK, and I'll go and check it out in my code. Okay, so it looks alright, but it's pretty much the same colour as my method argument, so I probably won't use that because it'd be quite confusing, so I'll revert it to what it was. Okay, and always remember to click apply, because if you just click OK, they won't get your changes won't get saved. Let's look at some presets. Up at the top here, you've got a little drop down box, classic light. No idea why anyone codes with a light coloured screen. I just find it impossible to tell what's going on. Darkular, so that one's quite a common one which you might see. That one's just strange. I'm trying to look for one which was quite good that I saw when I was creating my new one. I think it was this one, high contrast. Yeah, so quite like the dark background and the different colours, the way it stands out. That's pretty good. And then of course you can create your own scheme and save that, which is what I've done here. And I called it screencast contrast. Let's take another look at some other shortcuts and menus and just little things that PhpStorm can do to help you. So say for example you want to extend a class, you can just start typing ext and it'll hint extends. All you need to do is hit tab and it'll complete that for you. Here's some things that I use all the time. If I type pubf tab, it gives me a public function. prif tab, private function. prof, protected function, but also other things such as public static function, pubsf, and then tab, that will give me a public static function. So sometimes I'll just start typing letters and see what comes up, just to learn what's available to me. I've created a constructor here and I'm injecting an entity manager. Now if I hit Alt and enter, I get this little context menu, and one of my options is initialize properties. Hit enter and there you go, it initializes the properties which I'm injecting through my constructor. Alt and enter is also pretty good when PhpStorms complain about something. As you can see, entity manager here is underlined, so I press Alt and enter and it'll tell you what the problem is. So here it's saying unused constructor dependencies. A lot of the time what I'll do is just come down to disable inspection just to get rid of the squiggly lines. If you see something like this, my status bar is telling me that I can't use this code for the language level which is set, so I hit Command comma to open up preferences. Under languages and frameworks, PHP, at the top here I can just go and change the language level. Click apply and then OK, and the angry squiggly lines have gone away. Another menu which I find absolutely indispensable is if you press Control Enter, brings up this class menu, loads of handy stuff here, getters and setters, and I like this one, ORM annotation. So if you're using Doctrine, it'll do all your annotations for you, just like that. So it'll read your properties and it'll understand what kind of annotations to give them. Also, we can do getters and setters. So again, Control Enter. This menu will open, hold Shift and just press down and choose them all. That's what I normally do. Or you can press Control or Command and choose individual ones. And if you've got a big class or a big entity, this can save you at least half an hour's work. I'm just going to remove this set ID because that would normally be done by your database. So Control Enter, that's your class menu. Now, a lot of the stuff which I know about PhpStorm, I just picked up by flipping through a couple of items in the tip of the day. So on here, you can just look at the tip of the day, click on next tip. And what I do is each time I open PhpStorm, I just find a couple which I might be able to use and just started using them. Anyway, I'll finish off with a few of my favourite little PhpStorm tricks. If you have any of your own, please put them in the comments below. Let's all help each other out. So here's a way to find a method. If I hit Shift twice and then start typing the name of the method, so I'm looking for get rating, and then hit Enter, and it takes me straight to that method. Here's how I can duplicate a line of code without using copy and paste or anything like that. Just find the line, hit Command and D, and then it creates a copy of that same line below. Let's go and have a look at key map so I can give you the exact name of the commands. And so I just type in the keys that I've used, and as you can see here, it's called duplicate line or selection. Another thing I like to do is be able to grab the line and just move it up and down, and I can do that with Shift, Alt and the up and down arrows. And again, we'll have a look at key map, and it's called move line down and move line up. So that's a pretty good one. I use that all the time. Something else that you're always going to want to do is to flick through files which you've recently opened. You can do that with Control and Tab, and then you just keep hitting Tab and it scrolls through them all. I find this particularly useful because I don't have any navigation menus on my screen or anything like that, and that's simply called Switcher. Another way to find the file that you're looking for is to press Command and 1, and this opens the side panel which shows you files, and then from there you can just move up and down, left and right to open up folders, etc. Then when you find the file that you're looking for, just hit Enter and it opens it for you, and then you can close that panel with Command 1. A lot of the times you want to look for multiple instances of the same word in the file, so you might hit Command F and enter it in the search box. Another way of doing it is find one instance of the word, and then what I do is I hit Alt and colon, and I just keep hitting colon, and it'll go through and find all the instances of that particular word in the file. Now that key mapping is definitely one which I came up with myself, so we'll need to go and have a look at the key map and see what this is called, because it's got some strange long name. So I'll enter Alt colon, and so in main menu, edit find, add selection for next occurrence. So I'd never have guessed that one. Much like the file side panel, I can open the console with Command 2 and you close it with the same command. Sometimes you'll have things like arrays with similar content or similar lengths, and you can use mouse and click, and that way add multiple cursors, which is pretty cool. So if I just wanted to add zeros onto the end of all these digits here, I can do that all in one go, and you press escape to come out of that. Another way of doing it, which I'm not very good at, is to use Shift Alt and then drag the mouse, and you can do the same thing. So can you imagine if you had like 50 elements in the array? This would be really handy. Press escape to come out of that. Here's a useful one. Alt and up increases the editable cursor scope, and then Alt and down decreases it. Let's go and have a look at our key map to see what that's called. So if I press Alt and up, and we can see in main menu edit, it's called extend selection. And the opposite of that, when I press Alt and down, is called shrink selection. So let's stop there. I hope you've enjoyed this one and found it useful, whether you already use PhpStorm or not. Let's keep the discussion going in the comments. Feel free to ask any questions about PhpStorm and how I use it, and also feel free, or please share any tips which might help others and myself. If we want to be awesome, let's work as a team. As ever, please give the video a thumbs up if you've got value, and don't hesitate to share if you want to help other developers like yourself. That's what good developers do. And finally, if you want YouTube to show you more of my content, all you need to do is subscribe and click the little notification icon. I release new material every few days. Details of my schedule can be found on the community tab of my YouTube channel homepage. I'll see you in the next one.